Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about Spider-Woman and why I believe Spider-Woman could actually be one of the top 5 champions in the game. And potentially the best science champion in the game. Because up until very recently, whenever asked who should I rank up, Spider-Woman or Photon, just almost always went with Photon. Because Photon was a proven value. She's still useful, she's still amazing defensively and offensively, and she has been for a very long time. So I have, for a very long time, considered Photon to be one of the top 5 champions in the game. Because she is just great and useful and consistent. And again, not necessarily the biggest nuke, but definitely a defensive threat with a fair amount of counters too, but, which champion doesn't? And more and more recently, I'm leaning towards Spider-Woman because she just happens to go from strength to strength. And in my opinion, she's exactly that. She's one of those champions that happens to be awesome at what we need a champion to be awesome. It's kind of similar to Warlock, where initially when Warlock got released, you wouldn't have necessarily thought that he's going to be as relevant for as long, but he just happened to have the right immunities. He just happened to have, the best heal block in the game and one of the best power controls in the game under specific conditions. And access to shock, access to bleed, access to arm breaks, access to armor up buff, and all that stuff turned out that it just worked. And Spider-Woman is kind of similar because there's nothing extraordinarily exceptional. She's not the nukiest champion. She doesn't have like 5 billion immunities. She has immunity to poison, neutralizing power steal, which is fine. She's not, a plethora. Then as a science champion, she has access to buffs, which is fairly unique, and passive furies as well. She deals her damage by power stings, which is always good. Because hardly anything is immune to that. But, other than that, not that much going on in her kit. There are obviously more things, but however, when you put it all together, again, it just happens to work amazingly. And initially, we're going to use 7-star rank 4 to showcase her damage and rotations, but later on in the video, I'm going to be using a lower version to showcase her matchups. And as you can see, she's not going to be exceptionally nuky. The way you play her is basically a standard level 2, level 1 rotation. Level 2 to ramp up more, get more furies, and inflict a passive that makes your power stings more potent. And then level 1s to apply power stings and convert those furies into power stings, basically. Along the way, as you are ramping up, if you can intercept, that is great. You do not want to be striking opponent after a parry stun, ideally, because if you do not, then you can ramp up faster and get more furies quicker. But, her standard rotation is basically level 2, level 1. Along the way, you gain more furies. You do want to dex some special attack hits to refresh those furies, and boom. That's a sizable amount of power sting damage. Power sting damage is more potent when you apply power stings when an opponent already has a decent amount of power. That is something to take in note to get the maximum damage out of her. Additionally, the higher the SIG, the better her damage is, and this 7-star is SIG 100. So you can definitely improve on the damage that we see here from 7-star rank 4 as well, which I actually will likely take her to 200 after I'm done with high evolutionary SIGs, but, we'll discuss that a bit later. Effectively, still not mega fast. She does like Realm of Legends fights in like 50 seconds. You still need to go through her rotation. Again, there are many champions who would access more damage quickly. I do make small mistakes here. I apologize. It is fairly late. But the base idea, I shouldn't have activated my level 1 this early, by the way. I needed to push her past those bars power, but whatever. I'm just going to go for another level 1, and then Power Sting is going to finish her off. But the point is, it's not super fast, super quick, but it's not definitely, it's also not, slow. It is a very decent amount of fight time. Putting it up against a bigger opponent, she does look better because in longer fights you can because she does take first, level 2, level 1 basically to ramp up, but then you will almost always have more furies on the go. You will have access to more damage quicker. And if she took like 50 seconds to do those 500k health pulls, then going up against the 3 million health pull, she's again not going to be the fastest champion, but she's definitely not particularly slow either. And here we can see that We're just going to do standard rotations. We're not going to go for level 3. And there's a slight error here. I apologize for that. My recording equipment is getting a bit iffy. But that should be addressed and fixed soon. So my apologies for that. However, the base point stands. The rotation, super simple. However, the fumble and ensnare debuffs are very handy. Ensnare preventing all evades from the opponent. And the fact that together with debilitates, you basically have almost 100% uptime to that, which is actually very huge. There's like a second down, or, it kind of depends, I guess, how many special attacks you use, but basically you get vast majority of the fight with a proven evade counter on your opponent, which is actually one of her biggest strengths and the reason why she can take some unconventional matchups. It also reduces opponent's ability accuracy slightly, which sometimes can be extremely clutch. But now we have basically seen her entire rotation. So just level 2, then a couple level 1s. The level 2s are already starting to do decently good damage. That was a nice 40k crit, because if you punish their special attack, then straight after the special attack, you also get a 250% damage increase straight after the level 2. Kind of fun. But anyways, let's see. Now we're going to have a power sting. He doesn't want to throw it. That's fine. Come on, finally. Wasting time. I hate AIs that doesn't cooperate. But here, I'm going to go for another level 1. I do want him to throw it. He does, at least get a little bit of extra damage in there. But I'm kind of low on Furies here, so I do need to fix that. So I'm building back up to level 2 because my passive just expired as well. Still doing decent amount of damage along the way. Again, not the hardest hitting champion in its base, but those power stings are kind of excellent to finish out a ton of fights. Especially for shorter fights, you can set them up to be like a very good final amount of burst. So now, again, 15 Furies. I think 20 is the max in between actives and passives. We're still at 15. Sweet. Refresh those, gain some more. And try and do as much damage as possible here. Here we go. Opponent's at 2 bars power again. I want to bait that out. Again, that health is going away in decent chunks. It's not going to be, again, the quickest time. What makes her so special, though, is going to be what I'm going to show you afterwards. And I quite literally took my 6-star rank 3 up against, like, all the tough defenders that have ranked up at rank 4 level. A few of them at rank 3. And she did, like, all of them. So starting with Photon, again, not the best Photon counter, but by far and away not the worst one either. I do get a bit clumsy and I do this fight slower than I normally would be, but in Battlegrounds you can typically get this fight done in about 60-some seconds. So here I did make a mistake. I probably should have just sacrificed a bit of chip damage and played more aggressively, but I decided to bait out this level 1 and then use my... So I do want to knock her down, and then I decide to wait it out, but by waiting it out now, I'm also going to lose some of my Furies, which suck, which will significantly affect my damage. But, that's just me not doing the ideal type of timer watching. But nonetheless, we have baited out that level 2. We do have some Furies active on us. And I'm just going to go in here for my level 1 with my 10 power stings, and that does considerable amount of damage. Typically in Battlegrounds, this is also just about the end of the fight. And yeah, it takes about like 60 seconds or so, even with you waiting out everything there. So here, I should have just gotten another opening, but whatever. But yeah, in Battlegrounds, typically on equal ranks, you can get about 60 seconds here. It was a bit slower. Believe it or not, somehow Spider-Woman is actually a good Yelena counter, which I know sounds kind of dumb but stupid. And block damage is exaggerated in these fights, by the way. You do not take as much chip damage in Battlegrounds and Alliance War typically. Just so you know, it's just the way the ranks work. But I did want to go up against rank 4s because that is, a bit more accurate for the health pool. Anyways, I know. Class disadvantage. I know. Champion that relies on debuff against the Yelena that shrugs off all debuffs quicker. I know. Champion that relies on Fury buffs to ramp up. And Yelena basically makes all of that irrelevant. You'd think no chance for this to work. But it does. I promise you it does. It doesn't look like it doesn't work, but here it's going to be a bit of my user error as well. I need to get better at dealing with it level 2. Still took a few too many hits in block, but see that? Half of her health is gone. And now we just effectively need to do the same thing again. So I want to push her to 2 bars of power, activate my power stings, and that's one dead Yelena. Now I took again, block damage is exaggerated, but she does Yelena in like 70 seconds, 60 seconds in Battlegrounds. Which is again not great, not awful. Another matchup that you think Spider-Woman should not be able to do, but she does. And let me show you exactly how. So wait for your ensnare and fumble to pop up, and then you shut down the wave, and you can effectively push bullseye at level 2s. Also, with ensnare active, you have a chance to fail the bleed damage, which, you know, is nice, less chip damage. So she's obviously not bleed immune. You will take some chip damage, but the fight principle kind of follows similar to how Okoye deals with bullseye, except that you do definitely have to take bait out special. But yeah, no, it works great. Here I want to make sure that my ensnare is back up, which it is, and then again the block damage is exaggerated in these fights. So typically in Battlegrounds you take less block damage, but there you go, one dead bullseye, fairly quick. Again, some 60-second fight typically. Again, here she's not the best against Serpent necessarily. In some meta she's better than others. Like in current meta she's actually quite decent. But the point is, if we're going to ignore the exaggerated block damage, because you will take some chip damage in the Battlegrounds fight, but it's not going to be that much, you can be quite decent against Serpent too. You really, really can. Because you can still fail some of his abilities, by the way. Like that true focus or like some of those power gains. And with all the debuffs, obviously inequity is working in your favor. And then with all those power things, you're going to be doing solid. Ignore the health bar there a little bit. Because again, you do not take that much damage in War or Battlegrounds. Look at that chunk of health gone. That is quite awesome. And now I need just another level 1 basically. And he's going to be into his immortality phase. So, what do you think happens now? Okay, this one is based on luck. Because you have a chance, 30% chance to fail that. It might not happen. But, believe it or not, she's also kind of good against Dark Phoenix. There are 2 reasons. Number 1 is what we just saw against Serpent's immortality, that sometimes, 30% of the time, you can just fail it. There is, however, another thing, which I actually realized it throughout this fight. I shouldn't have thrown my level 1 yet. Because, check this out. So, here's a bit of block damage that I take, but you actually don't get no flames. If you time your level 1s properly after the level 2, you can escape all no flames along the way because of how fast and how many hits the level 1 has. Yeah, you can just kind of escape all the no flames. Kind of wild to me. And then again, there's obviously the chance that this happens. But yeah, you just want to make sure that you have level 1 ready, basically after her level 2s. And you're good. Obviously, you can do Onslaught. Most of the half-decent champions can do Onslaught. There's nothing too tricky about this fight. You can block the first hit of the level 1 to get the willpower healing along the way. And I will just want to ramp up. Actually, here, I don't know, maybe I should have went with just level 1s, but I think I somewhere make a mistake as well along the way. Yeah, here I didn't want to block those last 2 hits. That was an accident. But that's fine. We're still going to willpower heal everything back. It's just few unnecessary debuffs. But the point is, you can just get that level 2 off. And then the level 1 will kill him. So there you go. But he's not that healthy. Again, that's why I'm thinking maybe I should have just went for a few level 1s to finish out this fight. So here we go. We're just gonna push him to level 2 to activate the power things, but this is already an overkill. And that is a rank 4 onslaught as well, by the way. But, you know, fairly decent. Okay, so who else I have at rank 4 that's good on defense? Deathless Thanos. This matchup is not the greatest, but why I'm pointing it out is because she's also by far and away not the slowest against Deathless Thanos. And that is because once you have gotten to your level 2, once you punish Deathless Thanos special, you do extra damage, and that kind of helps you chip him away faster. And then the Power Sting burst can bypass a phase. I'm going to fast forward here a bit because I am making a mistake to set myself up, but because I'm going to miscount the timer things. Again, that's definitely purely a user error. But so here I think we're going to see me making a slight mistake, miscounting. Well, not slight, but still. So he's at 36%. Should have triggered that, but nope, he died instantly. So she's not going to be the fastest against Deathless Thanos, but decent. Nick Fury. This is a great party trick, though. But yeah, I wanted to show the Thanos fight because you can bypass that phase protection, basically. Okay, so why Nick Fury? And again, she's kind of good against most of the skill defenders, like Yelena, Bullseye, and again, not necessarily the best counter, but I promise you will like this. I promise you will like this. One thing about Spider-Woman is that her power stings are severe debuffs, as well as a handful of other ones. What does that mean for Nick Fury fight? Is that he can't get rid of them when he triggers his life model decoy. So, this is rank 4 Nick Fury. So just making sure to kill him with my power stings active. You bypass second life. That's kind of nifty. I'd think it's nifty. There's like 46-second fight as well. Oh yeah, and again, as if she. Oh wait, I didn't make a mistake in this fight. Whoopsie. I'm gonna restart it. I don't know how this got in there. Because I let him punch me because I messed up the beginning. But anyways, Zola, very very good and reliable Zola counter. Why? Well, because all of her damage effectively bypasses that Zola's covered this. Well, most of it does. And you guys are going to see in a second, you can heavy punch him. You can't heavy punish him if he throws that heavy out of his free will. But if he throws that heavy after he has hit your block, you can safely heavy punch him. So, that's kind of neat, right? He's very good against Zola. Again, so if he just throws that heavy randomly, you can't heavy punch. If he throws it after he has hit your block, you can heavy punch. And there we go. Very good for this. So won that, and obviously easy to refresh Furies though. Typically in Polygons, like 60-second fight, under 60 seconds. So there we go. This does virtually no damage, but check this out. Ta-da! And boop. That's one dead Zola. It works. Again, I'm literally taking her against all the defensive champions I have at rank 4. And she's a counter to herself. One way or another. She is a very good counter herself. And the reason for that is the weight control. Obviously, the biggest defensive threat she has is their weight and level 1s. But as soon as I get that fumbled and then snare active, there's no such thing as a weight. And this has borderline 100% uptime. Well, almost. You can say a little bit of downtime, but for the most part, you can easily just wait out until it switches back on. And there we go. So we go for level 2. Easy peasy. Right? So push her to that level 2. Not awful. Go for relic. I did want to make sure to activate my level 1 before the ensnare expires there. It is back. There you go. Spider-Woman is a good Spider-Woman counter. I love when that happens, by the way. There we go, activate that, and she's dead. So cool. Counters herself. Who else I have here? Who else am I using Spider-Woman? Honestly, I just run her through my entire roster, basically. Okay, Red Skull. Yeah, sure, why not? She does Red Skull just fine too. Because you can actually push him to level 2 and you can punish that level 2. I'm not going to do it in this fight, but you can. Because his Unstoppable goes away after hit him like once. But if you hit into the Unstoppable, you get guaranteed evade. So you can also push him to level 2 and punish it. 1 second. There we go. Stop doing that. I didn't even touch it. Come on. Give me back my screen. I really need to get a new one. There we go. Okay. A Red Skull fight. Basically, you heavy punish his specials, which is perfectly fine. Then you activate your level 2, which is again perfectly fine. He takes more damage during specials. I do want to push him a bit further in. By a bit further in, I mean to level 2. I'm going to drop mine level 1. And look at that. That is a rank 4 Red Skull. That's just dead. Your level 2, level 1 rotation. Jean Grey, again, nothing too crazy here. Basically, as long as you are able to deal with the reverse controls somewhat decently well, there's nothing stopping her from being a great Jean Grey counter. You just, again, need to kind of have the reverse controls in order. But other than that, the way she delivers damage and still, benefits from inequity, everything else. Oh, wait, this is the fight that I messed up. I knew that I cut it wrong. There we go. So there, I did have a mishap. A user error. I'm going to go back to this fight. There we go. Baby Jean Grey. I'm not starting recording this again. We're 22 minutes in. But there you go. Against Jean Grey, easy peasy. Push her against her corners, making it especially easy. I just need to bait that level 2 out. Did I make 2 mistakes? Oh, this is the one that I didn't clip. Cool. So I did have a couple of bloopers in this one. But here's how it's supposed to go. Again, as long as you are good with reverse controls. Doesn't mean that I have to always be. So, it can trip people up. Let's face it. But thanks to Jean Grey, I am getting better at reverse controls though. Because I often end up using a random champion against her and, get a decent amount of practice against the reverse controls in Battlegrounds. But mistakes still happen. Anyways, there you go. So we got the level 2 drop. We do have the reverse controls on us now. We're going to go for that relic. And now the key thing is I do need to get rid of her power shield before I do anything else. So the shield's down, so I'm activating my level 1. Great, nearly 2 bars of power. He immediately throws it, but there you go. So, not a reverse control immune champion, but definitely very decent counter. As in, like, very decent in terms of speed. Who else we have here? Oh yeah, Brinter. Obviously, I ran out of rank 4s basically. This is a rank 3 Brinter, just to showcase her neutralize immunity and the fact that she can be as aggressive as you want her to be in this matchup. He is going to screw me over a little bit by throwing a special attack when he shouldn't. But yeah, immune neutralize mitigates MD heavily, even if you do have buffs expiring. And it kind of benefits from bonus having MD too. And there we go. So just level 2, level 1. So here I am almost at 1 bar of power, but no, you just had to throw that special. Fine, whatever. Stupid intro. And it's still going to be very fast fight. I'm going to activate level 1, and these power things are going to be enough to take down the fight. There we go. Who else? Enchantress, obviously, she was originally showcased to be an Enchantress counter. So what you want here is make sure that she does not have that miss spell active. But basically from this point forward, you can completely ignore her having spells. You do not need to get rid of them, because each debilitate kind of discounts one of that spell effect when it comes to damage mitigation. So you can just leave them up to 6. But as you are playing normally, knocking her down or punching heavy attacks, stuff like that comes fairly, organically and naturally. This is a rank 3 enchantress, but she's obviously one of the best enchantress counters. And then there are a ton of random matchups that she's good against, like Dust. I'm not going to show the entire fight, but there's absolutely nothing stopping her from destroying Dust either. Just need to build up your rotation. So let's get to this point. And yeah, so get to your level 2. There we go. And then we're going to need level 1. And Dust is going to be dead. We have 10 of those. Yep, then dead Dust. She's one of the best counters for Nico as well. Poison immune, and she has abilities to deal with her. She's very good thing counter, which I'm going to show later. Who am I fighting here now? Oh yeah, Gentle. She's actually very good against Gentle too, because none of Gentle's defenses really matter. She's good against Sentinel, for instance. None of the chunkiness matters. I just don't have a highly ranked up Sentinel to showcase that. But the cool thing about her is that, yeah, whilst the opponent's unstoppable, you get that 100% away, basically. So, with that, you can be fairly safe. And yeah, Gentle's damage mitigation and physical resistances, stuff like that, doesn't really matter. So right now, he's going to try and hit me. Yeah, see, safe. So, built-in counter to Gentle, basically, that the way it is. And obviously, Power Stings bypass his resistances. Great stuff. It really is just killing just about everything. There are very few champions you find she can't do. If we quickly take a look at, Khonshu Zhang, some of the best defenders, Korg, but Korg's not that relevant right now. I don't know how good she would be against Korg and Atuma, obviously. Even though she does have access to shock, so okay. You wouldn't want to bring against Korg, Atuma, probably Killmonger. But Yelena, Bullseye, she does. Nick, she does well. Kind of crazy considering those are class disadvantage matchups. In tech, again, she does Zola, she does Sentinel very well. She do most of the tech defenders, actually. Who she would not do well here? I don't know. Nothing special against Penny, I guess, but yeah. Anyways, I think Spider-Woman's awesome. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information